So our average last frost date is April 15th. And today is a Tuesday. That's a Wednesday. So starting tomorrow we have 11 weeks left until our average last frost. So it's just about time for me to start getting some seeds ready. Now, this year I don't have everything ready. I've been running behind a little bit. I have seed starting mix, but it's out in the shed and I haven't gotten all my little seed starting pots or anything ready. So this year I'm going to do something that I've done before, but I haven't done in a while. And that's starting my seeds in damp paper towels. And then when they start to sprout, transferring them into damp soil and letting them grow that way. So the first thing I've had to do, which I'm almost done, is go through my garden plan. They're sticking out there. Which, if you didn't see my last video, I talk all about this. In my last video, you can't really see it because there's so much stuff in there. But so what I had to do first is go through this and see which vegetables need to be started early. So things like cabbage. Cabbage. It can be transferred rather early because it's so cold hardy. As long as it has some protection and you transfer it gradually. So cabbages and kale can be started early. Celery needs a really long season, so you're actually supposed to start between 8 and 12 weeks before you plant it out. So basically now. Broccoli, still in the same cabbage family, so similar kind of thing. Tomatoes and peppers, which is what I'm doing now. These are lipstick peppers that I got last year from Baker Creek. I want to try those. Some basic California Wonder, and an orange variety of bell pepper. And then I have a whole array of tomatoes that I have to pull out. So I'm going to get those pulled out, and then I'm going to go get them started. Alright, so for starters, I have my seeds, which when I was looking at my garden plan, I thought, well, I don't have to start that many yet, it's still early. But once I pulled them all out, it looks like a lot more than I thought it was. So, but I'm not planting like 20 or 30 of everything, it's a little bit here and there, so it's not as bad as it looks. So I have my seeds. I have a spray bottle with water. I have some paper towels, Sharpie, and some plastic bags. And basically just get a paper towel and very lightly spray it so it's just damp. And then pick some seeds. I'm going to do celery first because celery is the one that should be planted earliest. So I'll just get some seeds. They're very tiny. And I'll just kind of scatter them here. And just scatter a handful of them out there because they're so tiny. So this is the pink celery. I'm going to do pink and white. And I'll just go ahead and very lightly spray them again. Don't want them soaked, just lightly sprayed. And I'll fold this edge over so they don't fall out. Spray it again just so it kind of seals it. And then fold it again, just lightly spray the whole paper towel. Not so it's soaked, just so it's damp. And then just fold it up, fold the edges in. Get a bag. Put it in. Seal it. You don't have to squeeze all the air out, just don't want it to be a big bubble. And I'll write pink celery and today's date. That way I can keep track of how long it's taking them to germinate. And then I set it aside, and I'll set it in a warm but not too sunny spot so that they don't get overheated. And now I'll just continue to do that with all the rest of them. Alright, so I finished going through all the seeds. I actually started combining them in bags and just differentiating between seeds by size of the paper towel I was using. So I've got all my flowers and I've got all my vegetables that I need to get started early. Started in paper. And I'm putting them in this basket and leaving them on this table because this is a decently warm spot, but not too hot. And I'm just gonna leave them there, and some of them may start to germinate within 3 days, probably somewhere between 3 days and a week. Some of them take a little bit longer, so I'll just be kind of checking on them maybe once a day, not today, not tomorrow, but after that, once a day, see which ones are doing what. I need to start making some paper pots, which I did last year. I'll link that video down below if you want to see it. And a side note about those, they are plantable, but I found that the roots of most of my plants did not actually venture out of the paper. They ended up just being like weird little pot bound things. So this year I will not be planting the paper. I will still be using the paper pots because I like that a lot and how it worked out, but I won't be planting the paper. So next week's video, I'll have my paper pots and I'll have my dirt, and I'll be putting my seedlings in there. And then at some point, when the weather warms up a bit, we will start getting all of the trellises and everything in place. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye. Alright, so I know I said I was going to show you this in the next video, but I decided to go ahead and do it now because I already have like most of my seeds done and I didn't record it. So I have a few here that need to be checked and planted. I need to start some more, but that's that's later. Anyway, so when I put them in the paper towels, here, I'll show you these ones. These ones are bigger and easier to see. And I know I have at least one of those that needs to be planted. So this is Thai double blue butterfly pea. And, oops, no, you stay in there. These have to be scarified, which basically just means that you cut off a piece of the shell so that the moisture can get into it. And see if you can see there. So one of them has started sprouting. They're not actually peas. They are a blue flower that you can use for natural food dyes and whatnot. You can put them in tea, put them in lemonade. You can cook your rice with them, and it makes it blue. I bought some last year, but they didn't grow. So I already planted one of these. Another one is sprouting, so I need to get that in some nice wet dirt. So I'm just going to wrap those back up for the moment so that I don't drop any of them anywhere. And I'm going to quickly make a paper pot. And if you want to see how I do these specifically, then you can follow the link in the description for my video from last year on how I make these. Now, I mentioned before that last year I tried planting them because obviously they're paper, biodegradable, the roots can grow through, the paper can rot. But I found last year that even though they can, they didn't really work out that way. A lot of the pots stayed very much intact, and a lot of the plants, the roots didn't actually grow out. They just kind of stayed in there and got root bound, which was a bit of a problem for some things. So I'm going to be using them for my seed starts this year because I like doing that, but I'm not going to be planting them. So basically, I just make a little pot out of paper. The other nice thing about this is that you don't have to stick your finger down in the dirt to feel if it's moist down at the bottom, because if the dirt is wet, the paper will also be at least damp. So over here I have some wet potting soil mix, seed start mix, and I'm just going to put it in my pot. Now this is partially store-bought mix mixed with some of my own garden soil. I say soil, it's mostly sand. And then I put some worm castings in with it. So I'm just very carefully going to take the seed and put it in, and then I will put some more dirt on top of it. Let me just adjust that a little bit. There we go. So part of the reason I do that is because I didn't feel like buying more seed starting soil, and worm castings are good, and I believe it's good to some extent to have the soil that they're going to be eventually growing in mixed in with it, so that they kind of get a taste for it. You know, like people who chop up some of their own dinner to feed to their babies so that their babies get used to what the family actually normally eats instead of just baby food. So now that I have that, this dirt was actually a little bit wetter than I was planning on. I put a little bit too much water in, so I'm not going to spray it or water it at this point. I think it's wet enough. I don't want to waterlog it. So take a Sharpie and just write blue butterfly, because there's no other thing that sounds like blue butterfly, so I don't need to put any more than that on there. And then I will take it and stick it with my other seed starts under my grow light. Some of those actually need a bit more soil, like the soil has settled as they've started to grow, and some of them weren't quite as packed as I thought they were. So I'm going to bring all that out here so you can see how they're doing, and then I will just add some more dirt to some of those that need it. So I'll wrap these seeds back up and wait for some more of them to sprout. I also have one other one that I know I need to plant. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but I'll try and show you. It is Verbena bonariensis, which is super tiny seeds. Let me see, I don't think any more of them start growing. So you can see, where is it? Right, where are we? Right around there. See if I can clear that up for you. So one of them is finally sprouting. That one right there. So obviously horrific germination rate, but I'll take what I can get. So I'll do that one later because that's obviously a very, very tiny seed that needs a little bit more special care and attention. So I'll do that one later. But right now I'm going to go get my seedlings. I'm going to add this to my seedlings, and I'm going to top off any pots that need some more dirt. So I'll be right back. Alright, so here are some of my seedlings. Not all of them, there's more back there. So I have them directly under a grow light, like as much as possible, but some of them are still leggy, like this guy. He's gonna have to be like completely repotted later because that is way too much space going on there. This is broccoli, so see he's a little over ambitious looking for the light. Most of this is brassicas. This is probably red cabbage. Oh, that's my purple broccoli. Okay, so lots of broccoli in here. Do I have any cabbage in here? This is my other blue butterfly pea, which is starting to poke out. So I'll stick this guy in here next to his or her sibling, whatever. This is a purple cabbage. So, see that? So that's purple cabbage. This is probably green cabbage. Yep, that's a green cabbage. I say purple and green because it makes it easier. This is a calabus. They're kind of a cone-shaped, compact purple cabbage. And this is a Brunswick, which is a big, round, drumhead type green cabbage. But see, in this one, this is a purple cabbage. And something was sprouting, but now all I have is one piece of grass. So I'm going to have to replant that pot at some point. And this one has something sprouting, but it's very pathetic looking. See if you can see that. Yeah, it's really sad. So I need to do something with those ones. These over here have little sprouts. That one's still kind of stuck in its seed. I think it's a pepper. Yeah, that's a California wonder. It's still kind of stuck in its seed, but it'll pop out soon. I won't mess with it because it might rip the leaves off if I try and pull it off. This is celery, Chinese white celery. Those are doing very happily, so I'll later when they get bigger, ooh, don't do that. When they get bigger, I'll separate them into two different pots when they're a little bit bigger and stronger. This is also white celery, so this one has one in there. Cover your root a little bit more. There we go. I have some pink celery, I think, in my other container. What's this one? This is poppies. There's a little teeny tiny poppy in there. You probably wouldn't be able to see it even if I took it over to you. Oh, no, that's a piece of grass down there. So, poppies, I've tried direct seeding this time. But I'm also starting some indoors because we get a lot of birds in our backyard and I'm not very confident that the birds won't eat them all. These are ground cherries. I'll thin and separate those as they get bigger. Very tiny seeds. Are also called Cape gooseberries. And there's nothing in this one. This is echinacea or purple coneflower. I've never yet had success growing that, so we'll see. Anyway, I'll go grab the other ones just so you can see them real quick, but I will, like this one. This is a green cabbage, but as you can see, the soil has kind of settled and the paper's kind of stretched out a bit, and they need some more dirt around their stems. So I'll just take some nice wet dirt and just kind of pack it in around the edges lightly. Just to kind of hold their stems up a bit and give them some more space for their roots to grow. So I'll do that with the other ones in a little bit. I'll go grab my other seedlings so you can see how they're looking. Just put this all in one video instead of two so that it's more efficient. Alright, so this is mostly tomatoes and peppers. There's some other things in there. This, let's see, I have I think this is all kale. That's Nero di Toscano kale. Supposed to be, but honestly, I think I got them backwards. Yeah, that's the nice thing. Once you start to identify stuff, you can tell if you mixed it up. So this was supposed to be Nero di Toscano, but all of them are purpley and have more oak-shaped leaves. So these are the red Russian kale, which is great. This one obviously didn't grow, so I need to do something about that. And this is the Nero di Toscano, not the red Russian. So all of those did good. Those are from Baker Creek Seeds, which I highly recommend. Baker Creek. They have become my favorite seed company. Their germination rate is almost always really, really good compared to anything else. And they stay good and viable for a long time. These seeds are 3 years old, and I got seriously like 95% germination rate on this mostly, I would say. So they're really, really good. And if for some reason you have a problem with it and your seeds don't grow right, if the plants have problems, if the seeds have poor germination, you tell them and they will replace them. No questions asked. The blue butterfly pea I had bought last year, and only 2 out of like 10 seeds germinated, which is terrible germination rate. And of those 2, they seriously only grew 2 or 3 inches, and then their growth was just stunted. They never grew any bigger than that the whole summer. They didn't die, they just never grew. So I contacted them, and they just said, we've shipped you a new one. They didn't even ask if I wanted a new one. I might have just been complaining, but they just automatically shipped me a new one. And those have grown just fine. So that's my kale. Here I have, most of these are tomatoes. See, that's an orange grape tomato. This year I'm going to do a little experiment. Basically, grape tomatoes are super productive, and you never need more than 1 plant of grape tomatoes, because if they grow well, they produce so many grape tomatoes, you'll just be completely overrun. But I do like having variety. I have some white grape tomatoes, I have some orange grape tomatoes, and I have red, and they all have slightly different flavor. Some are sweeter, some are more acidic, And I like the different colors because it's pretty, but I don't need 3 grape tomato plants. So this year I'm going to experiment, and I'll have 1 just regular grape tomato to make sure I have grape tomatoes. And then I'm going to try, and I'll do it with 2 in case one works and one doesn't. But I'm going to take a red grape tomato, and I'm going to take a white and an orange and try and graft them into the red. That way I can have 3 different colors of grape tomato on the same plant. Now I have checked this. Grafting in tomatoes is a thing. Usually they do it so that you have a stronger rootstock, but a different variety. That way Like if you have a lot of soil-borne pest problems, you can choose a variety that's stronger in the root, but still have the differentiation of different kinds of tomatoes. So the reason people typically do that is different, but the method is there. So I'm going to try that this year, and hopefully it'll work, and that would be really, really cool. So I have tomatoes. These are all tomatoes. I have peppers over here. This is a cherry pepper, a hot cherry bell pepper, or cherry pepper. Anyway, I got those in a seed swap. Never had them before. This is a lipstick pepper that obviously needs some more dirt. Let's see, what else do I have? This is a hollyhock, a pink hollyhock. I'm really excited about hollyhocks this year. I have 3 jet black hollyhocks that I started in November, which I will have a picture of on my Instagram because I am in love with them. I'm so excited. So that's a hollyhock, a pink hollyhock. This is pink celery. So I have 2 growing in there. And then I think this is also pink celery, so there's 2 in there. So I have 4 pink celery growing. And just like the white one, I'll separate them out later. This, I believe, is my eggplant. I have 1 eggplant seed left. Last year, I grew 3. And I left 1 seed as kind of security in case they didn't do well. And so 2 of them didn't do good at all. They died off quickly. The other one didn't do good, but it stayed alive. And then in August, it just completely took off and it was covered in blossoms, but it didn't have enough time to really do anything before frost came. So I'm hoping that if I take extra good care of this one and feed it a lot and just nurture it, maybe I'll get some eggplants. This is a Casper eggplant. It's a small white eggplant. You know, an eggplant that actually kind of looks like an egg, as opposed to most aubergines, which do not look like eggs. Right, this is coxcomb, which is a kind of flower, and they have tiny seeds. That's why I have so many little seedlings in there. And these are some more poppies and some Swiss chard, which I'll separate those out later. Swiss chard is very similar to beets, but they don't form a root. So it's essentially a cluster of plants that will grow out of 1 seed. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 5. Depends on the size of the seed, but multiple plants will grow from 1 seed. So that's why there's 3 right in 1 spot there. And I think that's basically it for now. But there's things that aren't doing good over here. What's this? This one is bread poppies, which I might contact Baker Creek about those because I bought those last year and only 1 of them ended up growing, and so far they haven't really germinated this year. I did do cold stratification with them, just like I've done with my other poppies, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll give it a little bit longer and see how it goes. But that's my seeds. That's how I start them in paper and transfer them into my paper pots. If you want to see how I make the paper pots, you can check the link below. And yeah, there's a lot of great ways you can buy seed start plug things where they're pre-made and you just put seeds in them, or you can there's also seed soil blocking. I believe it's basically you pack it in to a little tool and you punch it out. It makes like little blocks of dirt for you to put your seeds in, but I just don't have room for that. I like the way this works, and it's basically free. You're recycling paper. So that's how I do it. And there's my seedlings that I've started early. I'll start more later on, but that's how I start those. So next week should be working on garden structure, and then eventually I'll be starting some more seeds, things that have to start later on. So yeah, in a couple weeks I'll probably show you these again just to update you on how they're doing. And then in about a month and a half, I will start transferring my brassicas so that they get used to being outside. It also depends on the weather and how quickly they grow indoors. You should wait till they have, I think, 3 to 5 true leaves. So for those of you who don't know much about seeds, you see these big leaves here on the sides. Those are not real leaves. Those are not real leaves. Those are just the seed leaves. And there's a teeny tiny one in here that is a true leaf. So once you have about 5 of those, it'll be kind of, this big. Then your plant is strong enough to start transferring it outside. So if you have any questions, leave me a comment. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss next week. And I'll see you all again soon. Bye. It's a present. What kind of present?
It's a ball runner.
A ball runner present. How many balls are there?
1.
Ah.